Dr. Mark Changizi here with your science moment. Motorcycles are apparently 29 times more dangerous than cars, something we talked about last time. And of course, we saw last time that, well, oh my gosh, cars are like 66 times more dangerous than taking the bus. But I don't see people rushing to go take the bus and abandon their cars on that basis, because it's a lot more subtle, the kinds of calculations, cost-benefit analyses. And so you have to consider all of that, as we talked about. But I was taking the 29 times more dangerous than cars value at face value. I'm just saying, okay, even if that's the case. But of course, that's not at all an actual accurate representative of how much more dangerous motorcycles are than cars. So just to try to give you an example, let's suppose that we were in some Nordic country where during much of the year they get around by skiing, cross-country skiing, let's say. That's how they get around, because there's snow everywhere and it's one of the easiest ways to move about. So you've got all these skiers and everybody does it. Grandma, granddad, the kids, everybody's cross-country skiing everywhere they go. Of course, sometimes they're going down, sometimes they're going up. It's just the manner of moving around. It's a generic way to move, to travel. Versus downhill skiers, right? Now, do you expect to have the same rate of injuries, let's say, for these cross-country, utilitarian cross-country skiers that are doing it for their life versus downhill skiers? Of course, downhill skiing, amongst all those adventure types that just like to go downhill skiing for fun, the risks involved are surely 10, 100 times higher than the cross-country skiers who are using it for everyday life, and everybody's doing it. Totally different set of people. It selects for completely different kinds of people, different kinds of behaviors. And so one shouldn't be surprised that downhill skiing amongst adventure seekers is totally different and higher than cross-country skiers who use it in Nordic countries like this. But the same holds for motorcycles versus cars. Now, there are motorcyclists who just use it as everyday parts of their life, but you're sitting in a group of all motorcycles, which includes all these adventure riders, which is an entirely different kind of group than what you find for car drivers. Car drivers are like the Nordic cross-country skiers who are using it for their everyday life to get around, some subset of which, of course, could be, maybe using it in a more adventurous, risky way. But for the most part, like cars, just like you've got some, fast driving folks, but it's a very small percentage of the massive population of car users, which is pretty much everybody. Whereas motorcyclists are disproportionately adventure seekers, just like downhill skiers are. The 29 times more risk for motorcycling has to take into account that it's a very different group of people doing very different groups of things. But if you're amongst the subset of motorcyclists who are using it just as everyday drives and not using it as an adventure, doing a speed demon kinds of stuff, well, you're then going to be much more similar and a very different kind of risks that are involved than the other large fraction that are involved in downhill skiing level risks. So you can't take these 29 times more risky numbers at face value. That is being affected greatly by these adventure seekers, these speed junkies that are out there on sports bikes going 150 miles per hour. That the entire group is being raised, the risks of the entire group is being raised by these downhill skier types amongst motorcyclists. So if you were just to take, and I don't have the data on this, if you were just to take the motorcyclists who are involved and using it in a utilitarian way in their everyday life, well, now you're going to end up with a much lower disparity between car drivers and motorcycle drivers. The risks should be much more similar and not nearly as disparate as 29 times as we see overall. And that was your science moment. If you haven't gotten a copy of my new book, Motorcycle Mind, get a copy today.